boundaries are kept for wrestling fans not to get physically involved with any of the performers, and for the most part, they truly understand it. However, sometimes these fans go crazy enough, hopping the barrier and making some unexpected irrational attack. And you know what? It poses a genuine risk to these wrestlers. CM Punk. One notable occurrence was what happened to CM Punk. Yeah, CM Punk might be one of the most adored wrestlers right now by the AEW audience, but that wasn't so back in 2012. Basically, he was a person that the WWE universe hated. In the midst of his 434-day WWE Championship reign, CM Punk battled Vince McMahon in a street fight on the October 2012 episode of Raw. The fight was actually an entertaining fight, with both of them full of energy. Well, I know that Vince McMahon is actually too old now and might not really speak well. However, back then he was still pretty good despite not being at his peak. But that's not the main point. You see, while the intense match was reaching its climax, CM Punk was on the edge of doing his finishing point. He was ready to deliver his signature GTS finisher for the win. However, the whole arena was suddenly filled with music, and that music was the thunderous entrance of the massive and imposing Ryback. At that point, CM Punk sensed the danger, grabbed his championship belt, and took off. He made his way to the crowd, trying to escape the unstoppable Ryback. But at this point, nobody expected what was about to erupt from the fans. You can see that plenty of fans had a go at touching the superstar before this shocking incident occurred. How bald these fans can be when inserting themselves into drama sometimes. The fan audaciously stuck his middle finger in Punk's face, even going so far as to blow the champion's head and shove him. Punk was openly agitated, and it only took one small blow to the back of the head to send him over the edge. Punk's temper flared, and he retaliated. The WWE champion strikes out and catches the fan with a hefty couple of blows, knocking him deeply to the floor. Though, when watched closely, the guy Punk struck was an innocent dude. Well, when you have such a tense atmosphere, anyone can be the hit and target, and the smaller guy who shows the current UFC trainee the middle finger was actually the guilty party, but he got off very lucky. Chris Jericho. Notwithstanding, Punk must have witnessed some hefty unexpected blows from fans, but for Chris Jericho it was a different ballgame altogether. This incident occurred after the end of a WWE Raw House show in Canada on February 7, 2009. Jericho got into his car and into the driveway from the parking lot when a group of angry fans stormed, which gave him some trouble. He was forced to stop his car after one fan booted his car. At that point, the six-time world champion was furious. He couldn't take it anymore. He got out of his car, prompting him to take action. It was reported that several friends of the attacker jumped on Chris. The most shocking aspect is a female who spat in his face. Trust me, that was extreme. Well, for her, she received some of Jericho's own spit. Not only that, she was shoved to the floor. All hell broke loose, but with a tense atmosphere, Jericho was able to get back into his car and drive off before the police arrived. Before he drove off, one fan called him a disgrace to Canadians, while another one called him an emperor, but Jericho was seen yelling at the security to do their freaking jobs. Meanwhile, the couple who started this fight was arrested but released without charge, while the male, Kellen Joel, who booted Chris Jericho's car, said that Jericho made a derogatory remark towards him. Personally, I think what Jericho did was a perfect example of self-defense. Seth Rollins. While Chris Jericho was facing fans spitting on him might be insane, what would you say if a wrestling fan decides to jump the barricade? This kind of insane scenario always comes with a risk. Most times, it's impossible to predict what will happen. That was exactly the situation Seth Rollins found himself in. He was featured on Raw in a segment with Finn Balor. In this fight, he was an absolute beast. He beat the crap out of Finn Balor, and it was a nice brawl. What happened next was so quick that even he had to defend himself. After the fight, Seth Rollins was on his way back, and that is when he literally was completely blindsided by a member of the audience that speared him. Watching closely, you can see this happening in those few seconds when he looks back at Finn Balor in the ring. Nevertheless, he completely managed the situation well. I mean, he quickly put him in a headlock before the referees and security guards could take him away. What is annoying here is that security was slow to act in this situation. This was a big shame because it put Rollins at risk. Thankfully, Seth is a professional, and I thought he handled this pretty well, getting himself out of danger quickly. One or two punches would have taught this fan a lesson, but Rollins didn't need to do that. It takes a lot of composure to handle situations at the peak of emotions. Steve Austin. Okay, Seth Rollins wasn't the only wrestler who faced fans jumping the barricade. As I said earlier, the wrestler might not react kindly when people jump the barricade. That was exactly what we experienced on a tour of Germany in 1998 when an audience member did just that. In a Berlin live event during the company's DX in Germany tour in April 1998, Triple H took on WWF champion Stone Cold Steve Austin. The fight was heart-pounding, and the crowd was white-hot for the show. This was because the Federation was touring a growing market amid its Attitude Era. Anyways, after the live match with Triple H, who was still known as Hunter Hearst Helmsley then, one insane fan decided to rush into the ring and dish a beatdown to Austin. What occurred next was the conclusion of this fan's life. Triple H sprang into action upon realizing what was going on, performed a Hellways lock, and took the Berliner to the ground. He unloaded punches onto the fan while pressing down his body weight. Then, referee Mike Chioda, one of the longest tenured officials in WWE history, started beating the snot out of the guy until security took him away. After the situation calmed down, Austin, who had won the match, held his championship celebration to send the crowd home happy. Meanwhile, Austin praised Triple H during a podcast for taking matters into his own hands with a well-done takedown. Randy Orton. But the greatest mistake a fan might make is to attack the Viper himself. Whenever a wrestler isn't watching his back, there's a bit of risk, especially when a fan decides to attack them as they cannot protect themselves. Randy Orton faced this danger while posing on the top rope during a WWE live event in South Africa. This was late July 2013, and Randy Orton was the current Money in the Bank briefcase holder after winning it earlier that month. Actually, the WWE embarked on a tour in South Africa and the SmackDown brand specifically over there. Randy Orton was celebrating his win over Big E in Cape Town, performing his signature pose from the second rope when one fan decided to go crazy. Orton was caught off guard when a fan entered the ring and low-blowed him. Pretty well, everyone watching this fight really enjoyed the show except this guy. What is astounding is that the guy planned this ahead of time. He even quit his job to make sure he achieves his plan well. But we all know that Orton is a Viper in this game. Orton recovered, kicked him in the face, and flipped off the crowd because he wasn't too happy about the situation. The security was able to force him to the ground, with Orton punting his head. Even Big E was furious, being separated from the intruder by security. Bret Hart. Yes, the South Africa tour didn't conclude well without a fan attacking Randy Orton, but what would you say about a huge event like the Hall of Fame? This was undoubtedly one of the scariest fan incidents I have ever seen, attacking a 61-year-old cancer and stroke survivor on an evening when he was accepting a prestigious honor. This is the 2019 Hall of Fame ceremony, and Bret Hart delivered a speech in honor of his late partner, Jim Neidhart, of the Hart Foundation. As Bret goes through his stories, this was the next thing that happened. One fan decided it was a good idea to make a sprint for the ring and tackle Bret mid-speech. Knowing his health conditions and the danger this poses to Bret, wrestlers and personnel rushed to Bret's defense and dealt with the half-witted fan. One notable scene was when the mixed martial artist and husband to Ronda Rousey, Travis Brown, released multiple shots at this man. While this was happening, Cash Wheelers of AEW's FTR left his mark on the fan with a stiff punch straight to the face, and I really love that one. Anyway, that is it for the video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Let me know your thoughts on these fans in the comments below. On the screen now, you will see other videos. Check them out. They are truly captivating. Thanks for watching.